So some of you might be familiar with the Scholastic Writing Contest, and some of you might be brand new to it. And I really encourage you to check this out because Scholastic sponsors this contest every year, and it's writing, of course, but there's actually other categories too. So if you have other interests and talents like art, you should definitely check it out. And in the Scholastic Writing Contest, there are actually 10 genres of writing, so 10 categories that you can enter. And these are dramatic script, humor, journalism, novel, poetry, science fiction and fantasy, writing portfolio, critical essay, personal essay and memoir, short story, and flash fiction. So for our classes, what we are going to devote our time to are these five in the blue: the critical essay, personal essay and memoir, short story, and flash fiction. That's what my classes are going to focus on, in part because those are my sort of my specialties and because it's what we can manage to do in that time. But if you have interest in these other things, maybe some of you have been writing a novel, I encourage you to pursue those as well. And I can help with really any of the genres, but we're going to focus on these five genres. So what do I mean by critical essay? So this is probably something you're most familiar with writing in school. The critical essay is, let's see if we could go to the next slide, Janet, if you don't mind. The critical essay, so this is from Scholastic's requirements. What they consider to be a critical essay is writing intended to inform or convince a reader about a specific idea or topic, such as art or media reviews, persuasive essays, opinion essays, etc. So this is often what we're writing in class, like in literature class or language arts class. And if you use sources, they must be cited. They can have footnotes or works cited page. And the limit for this is 500 to 3,000 words. So 500 is a very short critical essay, and 3,000 words is probably pretty standard for what you would be writing in high school, especially upper levels. The next genres that we're going to look at are personal essay and memoir. So Scholastic has these two combined into one, and there is a slight difference in them. So personal essays and memoirs are nonfiction. So you're going to be writing about your own opinion, experience, or emotion, and it explores a certain topic or event that's important to you, the author. So though Scholastic doesn't really differentiate these two, in our class, we will talk about the differences between them. A memoir, it has more of a narrative. It's often just like a story from your life. So it's nonfiction, but it's more of a story. Whereas the personal essay can take on some research or be more persuasive, be more about opinion. And so, one thing I do want to note from Scholastic is that essays in which humor is the key element. And it doesn't mean if there's any humor in it. All of these, of course, can have humor in them. But if it's relying on the humor, then you should submit it to the humor category. And similar to the last genre we looked at, the critical essay, it is also 500 to 3,000 words. The next genre that we would look at is the short story. So this is one of my favorites. And the short story is a fictional narrative that's written in prose. So the difference here is a short story is not about you. It is completely made up, even if you might be at the heart of the inspiration, it's not true. So the story I started from our exercise about the astronaut in space is not me, obviously. And so that is a short story, or at least the beginning of one. And again, this one is also 500 to 3,000 words. And then the final genre that we'll look at in these classes is flash fiction, another one of my favorites. So Flash fiction is a short story as well, but it's a very short story. It's highly focused stories that are characterized by brevity. And you'll notice that the big difference here is the word count. The flash fiction maximum word count is 1,000 words, and it can, of course, be shorter than that. There's many flash fiction stories that are around 250 words, which is about a paragraph. So the big difference is being that brevity. You have to, smush together the story, and it has to go a little faster. And in these classes, we'll differentiate these genres and look at keys to success in each one of them, figure out maybe what might be your strength. And it doesn't have to be just one. You might come away feeling like you know, got a good understanding of flash fiction, maybe something you've never even read before, and it might be your new favorite thing to do. So let's look at how we're going to offer these classes this summer. We're going to have two types of classes. The first one is the intro classes. This will be multiple students on Zoom with me, and we will meet 8 times over 2 to 3 weeks for 90-minute sessions on Zoom. And each student will get 30 minutes of just one-on-one time with me so that we can talk about your writing and your interests and figure out some of your strengths and set some goals for you. So the goal of these classes is that all of the students will be introduced to the 5 genres, the ones we just looked at, and have an opportunity to practice writing each of them. And then at the end of the class, I will help each of you pick the best fit genre for you based on your strengths and your interests. So that's the intro classes. Our other option is the advanced classes, which might be better suited for older high school students, but not necessarily. You can even be a younger student if you feel really confident in any type of, in your writing abilities. Maybe you've already done the Scholastic essay contest before, or you just really love to write. You write a lot. Perhaps the advanced classes might be best for you. So the advanced classes are going to be only 3 students with me. So you'll get, a little more, there aren't as many voices in the room, but you'll get 7 sessions over 3 weeks, and they'll be 90 minutes each on Zoom. And then after that, you'll also get 2 rounds of edits on your work. So say you finish a critical essay, I will then do 2 rounds of edits where you give me your draft, I give you edits, send it back to you, you revise, send it back to me, I edit again, and we have your final draft. And so the goal of this is that you will complete one high quality work of writing after the advanced classes. So we will not only learn about each of these genres, keys to success in each genre, keys to success for the Scholastic essay in particular, but you'll have a finished product at the end that will also get personal editing from me. And when I say editing, I don't mean just, oh, you used the wrong there, not just the grammar or the spelling or the typo things. It's going to be like in-depth feedback that I'll give you, where we'll look at big picture stuff, like say you're working on a flash fiction piece like we were talking about. I would think about, of course, I will also do the grammar and the punctuation and that sort of stuff, the mechanics, but it will also be about, oh, you need a stronger opening sentence, or you need to reconsider your title and have it grab attention, or the pacing gets slow in the middle. Maybe you should cut this sentence. It'll be particular feedback about the big picture stuff of your writing and not just grammar and stuff. So let's take a look at what these classes will consist of. And each day will be a little different because we'll be looking at each genre in particular. So a majority of the classes will be lessons on each of the five writing genres and their genre expectations, their genre conventions. So this is an important part because say you're writing a critical essay or you're writing a short story, those are going to be two very different types of writings. And so we're going to look at what makes them successful. And we'll do that by looking at examples of published writing in each of the genres. So we'll read published writing by famous authors who are doing really good work and who are well known and good examples for us to follow. But we will also look at examples of the Scholastic contest winners of each of these genres from the past, because, you know, you shouldn't compare yourself to professional writers who get paid lots and lots of money sometimes, some of them, to write this way. But we should also look at what our peers are doing and what the contest is looking for as well. And then in these classes, we'll do some in-class writing activities, some of them a little fun, like we did today, some of them a little more specific to the genre that we're writing in, or even specific to the project that you're working on. And then I'll also send you home with some casual at home writing activities. I don't want to call this homework because we're coming into summer break and you all work hard all year. But it's just to keep your mind thinking about your writing after our Zoom call ends. And then one of the most important things that we'll go over is revision strategies. Revision is probably the most important tool for you as a writer to have. And I know that it took me many years. I'm almost have 3 degrees in English, and it's taken me many years to like revision. A lot of people don't like it. Oh, I wrote the paper, it's done. I never want to look at it again. But you'll find that no serious writer does that. And I promise you that the Scholastic contest winners don't do that either. So we're going to build some revision skills for you to use for Scholastic contests, but also for your life. And you're going to be writing no matter what degree you pursue in college or what job you get, you're going to be writing. And so an important part will be building those skills for revision. And then we'll also do some creativity exercises because a lot of the genres that we're looking at, flash fiction and short stories and memoirs, that really relies on creativity. So we'll be thinking about word choices and imagery and how we can improve our language at the line level. So I want to show you an example of what I mean by this. So the next slide is an outline of what one class might look like. So this is an example of a typical class. This is one day during our 8 to 9 sessions. And say the topic that day is flash fiction. That's the theme for tonight. I just keep talking about flash fiction. But what we'll do is I'll do a little lesson on the genre conventions. And what I mean by that are those expectations. What is flash fiction? Why is it different than a short story? Well, it's under 1,000 words. There's a narrative, right? A beginning, a middle, and an end, but it relies on compression, right? Short story can be this long. Flash fiction has to be this long. So if you want this much to happen, you have to compress it to here. And in flash fiction, it's almost like poetry in some ways that you really have to pay attention to language and imagery. And you got to have a really strong last line. So those are some examples of what I mean by genre conventions. And each of the genres we'll be looking at has different conventions and different expectations. And then, of course, we'll look at some professional examples. For example, George Saunders' Sticks, which I'll encourage you to read. You can just Google it and it'll come up as a very famous flash fiction piece. I think it's like 2 paragraphs long. So you can read it in about 30 seconds. And so we would read some professional examples and we would get a good variety of them. That's a really short one, a really famous one, but we would look at some longer ones, some closer to 1,000 words. We would look at where are these things getting published, and we can explore some of the literary journals that are online. A lot of online literary journals are publishing flash fiction. So if you're really interested in becoming a fiction writer, I encourage you to hone the skill of flash fiction because it's a lot easier to get published, but it's also very interesting. And you can make a lot of them in a short amount of time. And so after we read a variety of professional examples, we'll then have a discussion where if we think about the genre conventions and we read these stories, what makes them good? Why is this a successful flash fiction piece? What do we like about it? And so together we will sort of examine it, we'll pick it apart, and we'll find what's working in it. And then, of course, we'll also look at student examples of past Scholastic contest winners and of each genre, and we'll discuss the strengths of those essays. And we can even open it up to, once we understand how these genres work, offering some suggestions for these essays if we were to improve them. And then we will do various writing activities. I like to start with a writing activity like we did today. And then I like to do one that's based on the skills that we're trying to learn. And so we'll do a writing activity. I'll always ask you to share, but you're never pressured to share at all. But I think it's helpful for you to hear what your classmates are working on and for you to share your work too, because part of being a writer is inevitable, right? So you want to enter the Scholastic essay contest, that's sharing your work. It's going to be published on their website. So that'll be part of our lesson, is learning to share and be proud in the work that you made. And then, like I said, I'll send you home with a casual at-home writing assignment. I'm not calling it homework, but just something so that the wheels are turning during the week. And, we'll have time for wrap up and questions that you have for me. So this is just an example of like the day that we do flash fiction. And then there'll be another lesson where we do all of the other genres. And then we'll spend time.
你们俩先停一下。Lisa，这边有个
then
角
we'll
落
spend time working on
Scholastic 作文竞赛
arts and
就是很有名。
there we go. All right, so that is a rundown of an example class. And now I think we can open up the floor for questions from you all. Questions about Scholastic, questions about how I'm going to do the classes.